Hey guys, Brian Grossman here with Grossman Woodworking and DIY. And no, I'm not in my usual location today. I'm not in my shop. I'm actually down in the basement of my house here in my office because I got a new tool here sitting in the crate on the floor that I'm really excited to show you guys. And this thing is definitely going to be a game changer for my woodworking business. And I know I've used that game changer term one other time before when I got my first planer. And I'm not sorry about that because that absolutely has changed the game for me. I use that thing all the time, and I know I'm going to use this thing all the time as well. So let me get down here and show you what I got. Yeah, I know this don't really help, does it? It's still in the crate. We're going to get this thing out here in just a second, but I won't leave you in suspense. What I have here is a Monport Reno65 Pro CO2 laser engraver and cutter. And this is something that has been on my wish list for a while. Monport was generous enough to reach out and ask if I wanted to try one. Once I made sure that the stipulations were reasonable, I said absolutely, and they sent this thing over to me. And the reason I say that about the stipulations is right after I started my YouTube channel, I had another laser engraver company reach out, a pretty popular one, and ask if I wanted to review one of their lasers. And initially I was like, absolutely. But then they followed up with their stipulations, which was I couldn't say anything at all bad about their product. And I had to send my video to them first for them to review it before I could post it on my YouTube channel. And as painful as it was, I told them, no thanks. You know, I wasn't going to, that's not me. That's an infomercial. That's not a review if I can't say anything bad about it. And I will tell you right now that Monport didn't put any type of stipulation like that on their product. So I'm excited to test this thing out. You'll get to see the good and the bad. We're going to set it up. I'll run through some of the specs for you. We're going to put this thing to the test and see how it does on a few different materials. And then you can judge for yourself if this is something that you might want in your woodworking shop. So, man, let's do what I've waited 2 days for now because this thing's been sitting here. I've been waiting to make this video. Let's get this case cracked open. Well, cracked open more because it looked like FedEx took a peek at it or something. It was already partially open, but we're going to get this thing tore open, set up back here, and put it to the test. No idea what happened there, but for some reason it did not video me cracking the crate open and struggling to get this thing up on the table by myself, which may be a good thing. I don't need any evidence when I have to go to the doctor and get my back checked out. But anyway, it's up here now. We're going to get it all unpackaged here, hopefully set up and running pretty smoothly, and see how this thing does. All right, so got some hose in here. I believe that's exhaust hose to exhaust. That's why I set it here close to a window so I could exhaust those laser fumes out the window there. Pretty sure what that is. Some safety glasses. I don't know much about laser engraving, but I know you don't want that laser to hit you in the eye, so laser safety glasses. Some tools, and we'll figure out what those are all for here shortly. The USB thumb drive, probably the owner's manual, a little measuring gauge. And we'll figure out what all that's for as we get this thing set up. Quick start guide, I'm definitely going to need that, and I'll read that here in a minute before we move forward. And this, and I just know this from watching other videos, but this is a little water pump. These things have to be cooled via water or antifreeze, a coolant, to keep that, I guess, the laser and stuff cool. And so it comes with a little water pump, but Monport actually sent me an industrial chiller, which I have sitting over here right next to this thing. That will do a much better job than just a basic little water pump. And so you'll see, we'll get all that set up as we dive further into this. But for now, I'm going to read that quick start guide, and then we'll get back to actually getting this thing set up. With everything unpacked, there was just a little bit of setup to do. First, take out the metal honeycomb bed that's wrapped in plastic sitting inside the laser. Under that, you'll find a package of these metal rails or knives that get placed in the bottom of the laser to support either whatever material you're working with or to support that metal honeycomb bed if you choose to use it, which I do and would definitely recommend. So get those rails out, put them into the slots in the bottom of the laser with the pointed side facing up, and do that all the way across the bottom. With that done, unwrap the honeycomb bed and just set that in place on top of the rails. It doesn't really lock into place, and honestly it kind of slides around in there a bit freely, which I don't really like, but maybe there's a reason it doesn't sit in there snug. I don't know. If you have any idea why, let me know in the comments below, because I'm curious on why that doesn't kind of lock in place, so you know your projects, whatever you're working on, don't shift around during the process. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. All right, we got the laser and the chiller both unpackaged. I had to move my chiller from the right hand side over here to the left hand side because the hoses actually come out the left hand side of the laser, so I need it to be on that side, which is going to kind of throw off my exhaust hose from the laser over here to the window, but we'll deal with that here in a minute. But I wanted to take you around just to kind of show you what we're looking at. So I picked up a heavy duty 4-plug extension cord to run the laser in the cooler, and here I am getting both of those plugged in and ready to go. Then it was on to connecting the laser's cooling lines to the Monport 5200 industrial chiller. And as I mentioned previously, the laser's input hose goes into the chiller's output port, and then the laser's output hose goes into the chiller's input port. So that it's opposites there. And make sure you put those little hose clamps over the hose before you install them on the port on the chiller. Otherwise, you're going to be pulling them right back off to get those things on and installed. Then it's time to hook up the exhaust hose. And because I had to move the laser a little further from the window than originally planned, I picked up this longer, I think it was an 8-foot, 4-inch dryer vent hose from Home Depot to replace that shorter piece that came with the laser. Again, make sure you put your hose clamps on each end before installing. And while I didn't video it, I did make a panel that you can see there, a wood panel that sits in my window with a dryer vent installed in it to vent the fumes out the window. And getting the hose onto those metal pipes is always fun, as you can see here, but with a little maneuvering, finally got it up on there, clamped it down, and it's ready to vent all those nasty fumes from the laser out the basement window. Next, it was time to fill up the water reservoir on the chiller. And after reading up on it, distilled water is what you want to use. So I picked some up at the store, a couple gallons. It takes just under 2 gallons total. And there's a gauge on the back of the chiller so you can monitor how full the reservoir is. So I just poured the first gallon in and then poured most of the second gallon and started watching that gauge on the back until I got it good and full. Now, Monport recommends adding a few drops of Dawn dishwashing liquid to the water, which I did here. And it also mentions adding an algicide like you would put in a fish tank. Now, I didn't have any of that on hand, so it's fine to run it without that for now. I will pick some up next time I'm at Walmart or PetSense to get that added to the tank, just to keep algicide from forming inside that tank when it's not in use. All right, guys, now the Monport 65 is all set up and ready to go. And in fact, it's actually been going now for a couple of weeks. I wanted to get a little bit of experience under my belt working with this thing before I kind of wrapped up this review and did a project for you guys. I wanted to somewhat know what I was doing because this is all brand new to me. I've never had a laser cutter or engraver before. So I needed a little bit of practice, a little bit of learning curve there, learning the light burn software that goes with it, as well as just using the machine and figuring out the settings itself. And I'll talk more about some of that as we go through a project that we're going to do here in just a minute. But I will say, during the course of the last 2 weeks, I've had an absolute blast with this thing. I wish I would have invested in one sooner now at this point, because there's just so much possibilities here, especially as a woodworker, for ways that I can improve or personalize some of the projects that I produce. And so just to kind of show you some of the things that I played around with, and then again, this is just part of the learning curve. A lot of these are mistakes or discards, but one of the very first things I did was just threw the Georgia Field logo, which is my another site that I have. Just threw it on a piece of cedar fence picket just to see how it did. I didn't know what I was doing whatsoever with the settings on the thing. I just put my logo in there, engraved it, and it turned out great. I got lucky on that. I've done some coasters, and these are again just discards, but I did some Steelers coasters for my son. Did some different bourbon coasters there, just playing around. I tried the cutting feature, the laser cutting feature, and this is 1/4 inch MDF, and it did a good job there. I had to kind of tweak the settings because cutting is a whole lot different than engraving, a lot slower and a lot slower process that requires more power out of the laser. So that took some practice. Just did a couple of other little signs here, our name and an established date. Did a Bible verse on one, again, just on some cedar fence picket planks that I had. Tried doing an actual image or a photograph, and that didn't turn out too bad. Cedar's probably not the best wood to do that on, but again, I was just practicing and seeing the possibilities there. I also ordered some leather patches, and again, played around with my Georgia Field logo on those hat patches, and I've actually got one on this hat. I got to learn how to actually get them heated and pressed on there, because as you can see, I burnt this one. It doesn't look all that great, but it is what it is. But just another option. I know it's not woodworking, but you can do leather with these as well and make leather hat patches. I played around with a piece of scrap cutting board that I had, put my name on there. Doesn't look great right here, but if I would hit that with the orbital sander and take some of that burn around the edges, I think that would look really good. So yeah, just a lot of things you can do with this thing. And again, I've just been playing around for the last 2 weeks, trying to get a feel for how it all works. But we're going to go through a project. I'm actually going to make some more coasters for my daughter this time. She wants some University of Georgia Bulldog coasters. So I ordered these blanks off of Amazon. I think I gave like 10 bucks for, maybe a little more, for 4 of these coasters with the little stand. And we're going to engrave that on there. The Steelers ones I did for my son. I don't have them here. I already gave them to him, but they turned out really good. And so I'm looking forward to doing those and walking you through the process from getting the logo into the light burn software and the settings that I use and all that. You're going to get to see this thing at work. So let's jump into that. Now, the first time you fire up your chiller, you want to ensure it's in the factory default settings. So to do that, press the up and down arrow on the front simultaneously. And while you're holding them down, flip the power switch to the on position and continue holding the 2 arrows until the letters RE come on the screen. Then I just power up the laser unit and it's over to the computer to get our project ready. All right, so I'm going to walk you through one of these laser engraving projects. And most every project's going to start right here at your computer using the light burn software, which is what you use to design your engraving projects or your cutting projects. And in this case, we're starting with a blank document here, a blank project. I've already downloaded a Georgia Bulldogs logo from the internet that I found. So we're going to pull it on there. Now, right now it's pretty big. It's 6.6 inches by 6.2 inches. And my coasters, my coasters are just 4 inches in diameter. So we need to reduce that. We're going to bring that down to 3.5 inches, the logo. And so there's our logo. Now the problem is we need to be able to see exactly where this logo is going to go within the laser. And there's some options on here that this frame, if I click this frame button, the laser will come out, it'll make a square around the area in the laser where it's going to do the engraving, so where your project needs to be. So that gives you a good clue and lets you kind of get things where it needs to be. But on something like a coaster where you're putting a logo in the middle, that's not accurate enough. I did several of these to where it was off just a little bit, and it's very noticeable, you know, if it's off center. So I found a workaround here. I actually come over here, click on this little box. We're going to make our own circle here. And we want this to be our coaster. So it needs to be 4 inches around. So 4 inches wide by 4 inches tall. This is our coaster. Now we can bring that over here and put it around our bulldog and get it just where we want it. That looks pretty good. And what I'm going to do when we actually start this project on the laser is first, I'm going to set a base piece of material in there, just some 1/4 inch MDF. We're going to burn this circle on that MDF. That's going to tell us exactly where our logo will go. And then I'll set this coaster in that circle, and then we'll burn the logo on the coaster. And that lets you get exactly centered the way you want it. And there's probably easier ways to do that, but this was the workaround I figured out, and it does a good job. So that's how I go with it. Now, we need to make this circle a layer. So I click on it and come down here, and you can pick out any one of these numbers. That's just any of them that's not in use. So we'll click on the 6 here and make it a layer, and it should be a line. Now for these others, for our logo, and we're going to hide that for a minute. Right here where it says show, we'll click off, and that hides our little circle for a minute. So it just shows our logo here. And there's 3 layers to this logo, and we don't need all 3 of those. And actually, if we went to burn this right now, I actually made this mistake. You can hit the little preview screen up here. It's going to show you what your project will come out like. And, well, actually, that's not bad. But it is. It's all line, and we actually want some fill. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. We changed that top one to fill. Now let's see what we got. There we go. Much better. So you have that all the detail burned in, but a little too much down here. And I think one of these, actually 2 of these, I think we can turn off. I think they're unnecessary layers. This one and this one, I believe we can turn off, and yeah, still get the look we want. Well, I can't. One of these, let's see. Yeah, that adds an extra layer around the G, which I don't like. And this one adds, I think, it adds this extra outline outside the collar and the logo, which that's fine. If you like that, you can leave it. But I think, let me look at that. Yeah, I think I like it just as well without that. I don't think you need the extra outline around the logo there. So we're going to leave it like that. But we want to see our circle again here, because I'm actually going to burn the circle before we ever burn the logo. So we're going to turn the output off for the logo itself. We don't want to burn the logo right now. We just want to burn this line. The circle. So let me double click in here. 100 millimeters per second, that's probably fine. We're going to bump up our power here to about 50%. this isn't super important. We just needed to make a visible circle on the board so we can see where to place our coaster. All right, so this is our scrap MDF that we're going to use kind of as our base. And yes, it already has a circle burned in it. We're going to burn one a little off to the side, and we'll ignore this one, but it's the only piece of scrap I had here handy. So I'm just going to put it right here in the upper right corner. And while this lid is open, I'm going to hit the frame button on light. Let me do it this way. There, you can actually see both things here. So while that lid's open, I'm going to hit the frame button right here, and that's going to show us where it's going to do that circle. Okay, so that's perfectly fine. It's going to be up here a little bit upper right of the existing circle. That's no problem. One other thing I definitely need to show you guys how to do is set the optical focus on this thing. And so I'm going to, let me move this tripod here and get you where you can see in here. Right, yeah, here. So to set the optical focus, let me get you where you can see these. Yeah. You use the arrow keys on your controller here on the laser just to bring it out anywhere on your material. Then you push this little foot here down until it locks down into place. Once that is in place, you use your little adjusting tool here that came with it. And let me back this up here just a little so you can see both. Put it down in this adjuster right here. And I'm going to raise this bed. It actually doesn't lower this, it raises the bed. But I'm going to raise the bed until this board pushes that foot in enough that it clicks shut or clicks up. And that's when I know it's in focus. So I'm going to adjust it up here. Once it touches right there, I'll kind of slow down because you want to get it just right. So I'm going to turn it, turn. There we go. Now this thing is in focus and ready to cut that circle. Anytime you do a project, you want to make sure you refocus that for whatever material you're using, or else you're not going to like the results. So it's in focus. Let me get back over here. I'm going to shut the lid. Actually, I'll point the camera down here so you can see that, and I'm going to hit start, and we're going to burn that circle. All right, so it made quick work of that, obviously. Now, the one thing you don't want to do once you've burned your circle is you don't want to move anything, because now this is telling you exactly where that logo, where that Georgia Bulldogs logo is going to be carved in the middle of that circle. So what I can do is take my coaster and I want to center it right in that second circle that we just made. Yeah. All right, that looks good. Now, the place where it'd be really easy to mess up here is to not readjust the focus, which I've done. So we're going to lower this bed quite a bit because we just added, you know, a 1/4 inch plus of thickness here. So let me lower it. We need to bring our little laser out over the coaster. Again, bring this foot down. Then we're going to adjust until the little foot kicks up. All right, there we go. Now we're ready for the project. So I'm going to shut this back. I'll go ahead and set you up here where you can watch it get burned. And then back over here, we're going to turn off the output for the line. We don't need it to burn the line again on the coaster. And we just need it to burn this very top layer. Again, let's hit the preview just to make sure that's exactly what we want. I almost messed up here. We need to fix our settings. So just by trial and error, I know that this needs to be about 200 millimeters per second. We want about 25% power. And again, this is where, this is the steepest part of the learning curve, is just figuring out the settings for whatever you happen to be engraving. And I have relied heavily on ChatGPT, and it does a really good job of just kind of getting you in the ballpark. And then from there, you gotta learn. Now, I've been told to turn off air assist for engraving and leave it on if you're actually cutting. So I'm gonna turn it off. Fill mode. Most any project you do is gonna be that 0.1. That is the distance between, as the laser moves back and forth, that's the distance of overlap between the lines. So if you lower that, the lines are going to be a little closer together and it's going to burn a little darker. And in this case, I played around and I like the 0.08 for this particular project. So that should be everything I need on my settings. And I've been writing these down as I learn. That way the next time I do coasters or whatever, I'll have a good starting point and I won't be starting from scratch. But with that should be everything we need. I'm going to hit the start. And I don't know if there's any purpose in changing this. I usually do. We'll just say UGA coasters. You can only put so many letters in there. And now it's going to burn. And hopefully I got everything right this time. All right, so not too shabby. I'm not crazy. This wood, I didn't like this coaster as much. It's got some kind of dark grain in it, and where they pieced two pieces of wood together, I don't know, just didn't turn out as well as one of the other ones I did. But still, you can see the possibilities here. And the good thing is, once you've done one, like when you're doing a set of coasters, all the work's kind of over at this point. All you got to do is set your next blank in that same circle, get it right where you want it, close your lid, and hit start right here on the laser, and it'll do the next one. You don't have to mess with the laptop. You don't have to change any settings. You don't have to adjust, calibrate anything. It's ready to go. You can just keep cranking these out, as many as you want to make at that point. So, and you could set this up to where you could, have all 4 or 6 or 10 coasters out here and just let it do them all at one time too, which would obviously be a quicker process. But again, I'm just playing around. I wanted to demonstrate for you how this thing works so you could see it in action, and yeah, just let you get a feel for it. So let me get this tripod up where you can actually, I don't have to stay hunched over here, and we'll wrap this thing up. So guys, as you can see, man, the possibilities really are endless here. Coasters, you can make a variety of signs. You can cut out all kinds of projects. Again, leather hat patches, anything leather. What I didn't do is you can actually cut out like acrylic. You could make router templates and stuff by cutting out acrylic. You can engrave actual photographs, which I played around with a little bit, onto plywood or any kind of hardwood, whatever wood you want to use. Just, man, a whole world of possibilities there, and a lot of opportunities as a woodworker to be able to customize projects that you're working on for your customers, whether it's adding a name or some other type of information on there. And so it's really, I know it's got my wheels spinning, and I'm excited to put the Monport 65 to use in some future projects. You're going to see this machine in use quite a bit on some upcoming builds, just as I'm able to customize things for friends, family, and hopefully customers along the way. And with that, guys, if you're interested in a Monport laser engraver and cutter, I'll drop some links down into the description below. I don't know at this point if they're giving me a discount code, but if they do, that'll be in the comments below as well. So be sure to check those out. And as always, guys, I'll see you on the next video.